Hi, it's Mark from Top Local. We're here with Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive in beautiful Vancouver, BC, where the rain never stops. So we're here talking about a 2002 Volvo S40 and what was happening with this smaller Volvo vehicle.
This little Volvo, the 4-cylinder turbo engine, had an oil leak, a very bad oil leak coming from the timing, inside the timing cover area, and the actual oil leak was coming from the exhaust camshaft gear.
So how does oil leak from a camshaft gear?
Well, that seems a little unusual, doesn't it? I mean, you think, well, how can a gear leak? But this gear is actually a variable valve timing gear. And so inside this, the way variable valve timing systems work, they use engine oil pressure, they use valves, and they change the oil pressure inside the gear, and that adjusts the valve timing. So it'll be set in a certain position, then when you apply the pressure, it changes the position of the gear, so you can adjust the valve timing. Kind of simple, but sort of complicated too.
So how common of a problem is that with Volvos?
Well, this leak is not uncommon. With these gears, eventually they do create problems. I mean, they'll either fail internally or they'll develop a leak. The leak is not an uncommon issue. This particular engine seems to be more problem prone than others, but the other 5- and 6-cylinder Volvos, they use variable valve timing as well. And some of them actually have variable valve timing on the intake and the exhaust. So you have like actually 2 gears that can potentially leak or cause problems. And there's added complexity with those as well.
So we have an extra treat today. You have a video and some pictures.
We do have a video and some pictures. So let's start with the video. So there's a video with the covers off. This is actually after the repair, and you can see the that gear that I'm focusing on, the one on the left, the sort of more silvery colored, that's the gear that we replaced. It has all the variable valve timing components. The gear on the right is just a simple gear. It has nothing, it just bolts onto the camshaft. We'll just take a little look around the top of the engine here with the engine covers off. You can see the ignition coils and the spark plug, or the ignition coils and spark plug wires. This item here, this is part of the variable valve timing as well. This is a sensor that senses the position of the camshaft. So it sends a signal to the computer, and that will determine where, how to adjust the valve timing. This piece here, this is the variable valve timing solenoid. So there's an electrical connection here. The oil pressure goes up into the solenoid, and that adjusts the pressure to the cam gear. So we'll ditch this video and we'll go look at some pictures now of the gear. So there's the camshaft gear. There's the old one. This is you can see this is a bit of oil. This just spilled out when we took the gear off. There's a cap here with a seal on it, and that prevents the oil from coming out, but it's impossible to change this without making a mess. But the leak, where the red arrow points to a little plunger that sticks out of the side of the gear, and this is where the oil is leaking out of it, quite a large rate. So, I was actually, just to be sound a little more intelligent, I wanted to figure out what's the actual purpose of that plunger is, because I did a training course a while ago, and the trainer talked about how a lot of these have a plunger or something to lock the gear under certain conditions. I believe that's what this was for, but I could be wrong on that, and someone will probably correct me. But there's a purpose to this plunger, and there's a seal inside there that's leaking. But of course, this gear is all put together. It's a sealed unit, and while the seal is probably worth a penny, it's a couple $100 for the gear. So there's things that can go wrong with them, besides that issue. Now let's have a look at there's another view of the gear. This is the inside view. This is what bolts onto the camshaft. Again, I'm pointing to the plunger here so you can kind of orient yourself, but you can see two passageways here. This is where the oil is fed in under pressure, and inside this valving that will actually allow the gear to switch timing. So that is basically how it works, and that's what we've got for sharing here. Love that.
So with variable valve timing engines from other manufacturers, how are they for, I guess they probably use different systems, or are they all oil pressure activated and have the same sort of problems?
They pretty well all use the same type of system. They're all oil pressure activated. These leaks are not so common in a lot of other cars, because Volvo uses a timing belt. They have for a long time, although the newer engines getting into the sort of middle of the the 2000s, they went to chain drives, but a lot of vehicles with variable valve timing have chain drives. So if something like this were leaking, like on the Volvo, you'd never know because the variable valve timing gear is located inside the engine. But there are a number of problems with variable valve timing. Let me say, I pointed out a few things in that video, the solenoid, the sensors. There's a number of things that can go wrong with them. Timing chain stretching. There's a lot of issues with variable valve timing. It adds a lot of complexity to an engine. But sometimes the simplest problem we run into, and this is a lot on Hondas and Acuras, I'm thinking of, is people come in, they go, the check engine lights on, and there's a variable valve timing code. We go to check the oil, and there's like, the engine's almost out of oil. People haven't been checking their oil. So you can see how having the full oil level is critical to the function of the variable valve timing system. So again, this is, I've talked about oil changes. Change your oil and check your oil. Make sure the level's full. Not all cars have a monitor to tell you when the oil level is low. As a matter of fact, probably I'd say most cars don't. So you need to check your oil level. Don't just trust that it's working, because running your oil low on an engine like this is critical. I mean, these are really expensive parts to fix. So it's really important that you make sure that the oil is full. So that's one of the biggest things we notice. But there are lots of things that can go wrong with it.
So variable valve timing, what does that actually do? What does that accomplish? What's the result of having it in a car?
Well, the result is better engine performance, better fuel economy, reduced exhaust emissions. That's the end result. But what it is and what it does is, the engines have intake and exhaust valves to let the air into the engine and exhaust out. And the timing of those valves is critical to engine performance. And when an engine's at idle, it doesn't necessarily need the same valve opening as it does when you're trying to race down the road at 6,000 RPMs. The engine has different needs. So variable valve timing fulfills that. And so you can get way better fuel economy, engine performance, and again, gas mileage, depending on how you adjust the valve timing. So, in an older engine, the valve timing was fixed. It's just, the same at any speed. So there's a compromise in performance. Variable valve timing takes the compromise out.
And how are S and V40 Volvos for reliability?
I'd say they're not the best cars out there. There are a lot of things that go wrong with these cars. Transmissions wear out. It has a timing belt. That's a pain to change. We get these leaks from various places. So oil leaks. Excuse me. They're not the most reliable cars out there. I mean, they're a nice little car, and when they work well, it's a good car. But it wouldn't be my first choice for reliability in a car.
And I understand that Volvo is making a pretty drastic change for the future. What's going on there?
Yeah, so I believe it's 2018 and 2019. They're actually coming up with a full line of electric cars. Now, I read the press release, and it sounds like from the press release the whole company is going completely electric, and you'll never see a gas engine again. That's not the case, but they are going to a full line of electric cars. I'm not, I guess we'll have to see what that actually means, but I thought it's a pretty bold move. So they're trying to get at the forefront of that movement.
So there you go. If you're looking for service for your Volvo in Vancouver, the guys to see are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book your appointment, or check out their website, pawlikautomotive.com. or our YouTube channel, Pawlik Auto Repair, and we've got hundreds of videos on there for all makes and brands of cars. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark.